Deep in the heart of an ancient, decaying library, nestled in a forgotten corner of a crumbling Victorian mansion, Sarah stumbles upon a manuscript bound in black leather. The book emanates a chilling aura, its pages brittle with age, but inscribed with symbols that seem to move when glanced at directly. The air grows heavy as whispers fill the room, voices indistinct but undeniably present. That night, Sarah dreams of a dark forest where the trees are gnarled and twisted, their branches resembling skeletal hands reaching for the sky. A blood-red moon hangs ominously above, casting an unnatural light. In the distance, a robed figure chants in an incomprehensible language, standing before a stone altar etched with the same symbols as the manuscript. The following day, a stranger arrives in the small town where Sarah lives. Dressed in outdated clothes and carrying an aura of mystery, he claims to be researching local legends. His piercing eyes seem to see through Sarah, and when he spots the manuscript in her possession, his demeanor shifts to one of veiled menace. Drawn by an inexplicable urge, Sarah finds herself venturing into the woods at dusk. She follows the instructions in the manuscript, marking a circle with symbols drawn in chalk. As she completes the final rune, a chill wind howls through the trees and the ground trembles faintly. The air becomes thick with the scent of sulfur. A string of unexplained disappearances begins in the town. The first victim is a reclusive historian who had been researching occult practices. His house is found in disarray, with symbols from the manuscript carved into the walls. Sarah begins to fear that her actions may have unleashed something far worse than she imagined. The stranger reveals his true identity as a cultist who has been searching for the manuscript for decades. He claims that the book is a gateway to an ancient power, but only a willing sacrifice can unlock its full potential. Sarah realizes that desperate for answers, Sarah ventures to an abandoned asylum on the edge of town where the manuscript was first discovered. The walls of the asylum are covered in graffiti and decay, but one room holds a mural depicting the ritual in horrifying detail. The whispers Sarah first heard in the library grow louder, forming disjointed words that urge her. As the date of the final ritual approaches, the town is plagued by violent storms and strange phenomena. Crops wither overnight, animals go missing, and the townsfolk begin to exhibit erratic behavior. Sarah's attempts to warn them are met with hostility as the cult's influence spreads. The cult captures Sarah and prepares the ritual in the forest clearing. Bound and helpless, she watches as the stranger recites an ancient incantation. The blood-red moon reaches its zenith and a portal begins to form within the chalk circle. Just as all seems lost, Sarah remembers a hidden passage in the manuscript, a counter-ritual that might seal the portal. Summoning every ounce of courage, Sarah chants the counter-ritual, disrupting the ceremony. The cultists scream as the portal collapses, pulling them into its depths. The stranger lunges at Sarah, but she uses the last of the manuscript's power to banish him. Exhausted and scarred, she collapses as dawn breaks, the forest eerily silent once more. As Sarah awakens in the forest, she notices the once vivid chalk circle is now a faint scar on the ground. Though she believes the worst is over, she finds herself haunted by a faint whisper that seems to follow her wherever she goes. The manuscript is missing, and she fears it may have disappeared to resurface in someone else's hands. Back in her home, Sarah begins to notice strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, chilling drafts in closed rooms, and mirrors reflecting things that aren't there. She discovers a small token left in her pocket from the ritual, a dark stone carved with one of the manuscript's symbols. One night, Sarah wakes to find her room bathed in an unnatural darkness. A shadowy figure emerges from the corner, its form shifting and unnatural. It whispers to her, promising freedom from her torment if she agrees to complete the ritual and accept her fate. Desperate for answers, Sarah seeks out the remnants of the cult. She finds herself in a hidden underground chamber beneath the town, where the air is thick people with decay and despair. The walls are covered with ancient texts and drawings depicting monstrous entities. Sarah's behavior begins to change. Unbeknownst to her, the shadowy figure has begun to infiltrate her mind. She experiences blackouts and vivid hallucinations, often finding herself in strange places with no memory of how she arrived. Through research, Sarah discovers that the stone is a conduit for the entity's power. Destroying it could sever its link to her, but doing so would unleash a backlash of energy capable of devastating the town. She struggles with the decision, torn between self-preservation and the safety of others. Sarah discovers that several townspeople, including those she trusts, bear faint marks identical to the symbols in the manuscript. These individuals act as the cult's agents, watching her every move. She realizes that the cult's influence is far-reaching and that no place is truly safe. Determined to sever the cult's power, Sarah revisits the abandoned asylum. This time, the building feels alive. Walls shift, whispers intensify, and shadowy forms skitter just out of view. In a hidden room, she finds a tome detailing the rituals performed there decades ago, along with a warning about the entity. Sarah seeks help from a local priest known for his knowledge of the occult. Together, they attempt an exorcism to rid her of the entity's influence. The ritual backfires, unleashing a surge of malevolent energy that consumes the priest, leaving Sarah more vulnerable than ever. The entire town begins to crumble under the entity's growing power. Buildings collapse, rivers run black, and the townsfolk fall into madness. Sarah realizes the ritual's influence is spreading beyond her control, and the end seems inevitable. Despite Sarah's sacrifice, strange occurrences continue in the town. Shadows move unnaturally, and whispers plague those who witness the events. The once banished entity seems to have left a fragment of itself behind, lurking in the dark corners of the town. A hidden journal from the town's past surfaces, revealing that Sarah's banishment ritual was incomplete. The journal warns of a shadow heart that must be destroyed to seal the entity permanently. The townsfolk are reluctant, but a small group decides to investigate further. The group ventures into the forest where the original ritual was performed, guided by the journal's cryptic instructions. The deeper they go, the more distorted reality becomes. Trees bleed, the air grows heavy, and the whispers turn to guttural growls. At the heart of the forest, the group encounters a terrifying creature, a monstrous guardian that protects the shadow heart. Its form is an amalgamation of twisted limbs, glowing eyes, and writhing tendrils. It speaks with a voice that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. The group fights to survive as the guardian attacks. Using the instructions from the journal, they attempt to weaken the creature with ancient symbols and chants. One by one, they fall, leaving only a few to continue the mission. With the guardian weakened, the group discovers the shadow heart, a pulsating black orb that emits an aura of pure malice. Destroying it requires immense strength and sacrifice as it fights back, lashing out with dark energy. The last survivor, driven by Sarah's memory, sacrifices themselves to destroy the shadow heart. The orb shatters in a blinding explosion of light and shadow, releasing a deafening scream that echoes through the forest and beyond. As dawn breaks, the forest falls eerily silent. The air feels lighter and the unnatural presence is gone. The survivors' actions seem to have finally vanquished the entity, but the cost is immeasurable. The town begins to heal, though the scars of the ordeal linger. Memorials are erected for those who were lost, and the forest is declared off-limits. People whisper of a strange peace that has settled over the town, though many remain wary. In a chilling twist, a child playing near the forest discovers a small, dark stone etched with faint symbols. As they pick it up, the faint sound of a whisper begins to echo, promising secrets and power. The cycle may not be over after all. Sarah discovers that the entity feeds on fear and despair, not just ritualistic offerings. Realizing that the cult thrives on manipulation, she begins to see through the illusion. The entity cannot harm those who reject it and refuse to give in to fear. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah plans her final stand. At the site of the final ritual, Sarah confronts the entity directly. Chanting a counter-ritual from memory, she floods the clearing with light. The cultists, blinded and disoriented, are forced to witness the truth. The entity is not a god, but a parasite feeding on their worship. The cult's power crumbles, and the remaining members scatter in panic. The stranger, revealed to be merely a puppet of the entity, begs Sarah for mercy. She showed him compassion, but demands he leave and never return. The clearing, once filled with dark energy, becomes silent and calm. Sarah returns to town. Forever changed, she uses her experience to educate others about the dangers of blind belief and the manipulation of fear. The townspeople, freed from the cult's influence, begin to rebuild their lives. The forest regrows, no longer tainted by darkness. The manuscript vanishes, leaving only a faint scar where it was last seen. Sarah reflects on the ordeal, understanding that true evil thrives in secrecy and fear. By confronting it and shining a light on its lies, even the darkest shadows can be banished. She vows to live without fear, knowing that courage and knowledge are the ultimate weapons